The next game is the Big Ten Championship. The final Big Ten Championship with two divisions, the West versus the East, where they all go to, the newcomers come in and they are rid of divisions. So this is the final, Iowa won the Big Ten West for the last time. She's good riddance. And, Michigan won the East for the last time, and then it'll just be, 1 through 16 or 1 through 18, how many teams are coming in next year. Top two will win go to the Big Ten Championship. But either way, go down the schedule. Iowa is 10-2. This team might be one of the most surprising and just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, underdog mentality, just inconceivable way this team got to 10 wins is absolutely remarkable to me. They lost in what game was that? They lost in their 5th game of the season. They lost Cade McNamara. Right after that, they lost their starting tight end, Eric All. And then 3 weeks ago at least, maybe it was a month ago, they lost their best player overall, one of the best players in the entire country, Cooper DeJean. Their cornerback / returner, do-it-all guy. He went down with the season-ending injury, and this team still got to 10 wins. Yes, they play in the Big Ten West. Their strictly schedule is only 58. Their out-of-conference wasn't necessarily tough at all. But to get to 10 wins with Deacon Hill as your quarterback, averaging less than 225 yards, total yards per game. I mean, this is just remarkable. How much this team is stuck together. Their defense is just playing otherworldly and just kept them in every single game. I mean, they scored more than 20 points. Since October 7th, they scored 20 or more points once. They are 5-1 in those games. 5-1 in those games. That is absolutely remarkable, guys. In the only game they lost, their defense only gave up 12 points. That Minnesota game where DeJean returned the kick and they called a fair catch, I'm sure a lot of Iowa fans are still like, bro, you take that away. Iowa is 11-1 and might even be, top 12, might even be in the top 10, and could possibly, they would never put him in there, but just in the cusp of making the CFP if those refs make the correct call and don't call that a fair catch. But either way, it happened. They lost to Minnesota. They're still in this game. They wanted, I think, with at least two games to spare, not 3, because they had the tiebreakers with second-place teams in that division. But this team, like I said, just persevered through it all. Kirk Ferentz, I think he was probably second in the Big Ten Coach of the Year behind Northwestern's head coach. I mean, what he did was remarkable. But Kirk Ferentz putting together 10 wins with this roster, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And it's not like their stats are that bad. The only Tier 1 loss they have was to Penn State. They got crushed. But they have 2 Tier 2 wins against, I think it was at Iowa State early in the season. And then it's either Nebraska or at Nebraska or at Wisconsin. One of those two would qualify as a Tier 2 win because it's on the road. So, and their offense, again, they have the second, or the worst total offensive yardage in the entire country of their defense, though. Look at that. Number 3 in the entire country in defense. That's how they win. That's how they've always won since Kirk Ferentz has been there. And that's what they continue to do until he's gone. So, on the other side, Michigan Wolverines. The most talked about, clicked about, just, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm a Michigan fan. Obviously, that's no secret what I've been through. It's just, this team has just been off the field. I've never seen a team have more controversy and more possible distractions off the field for the last month and a half of the season that I can remember in any recent memory. And this team, somehow, some way, pushed through it all, persevered, bowed up, without their head coach, without their, cheating guy, whatever it was. I'm not going to get into that. And just won games. Just flat out better than everybody. They finished the season with their 2 biggest games in the entire season. They backloaded their schedule again for the second year in a row. Played at Penn State, beat them by 9 without Jim Harbaugh. Played at Maryland, only won by a touchdown, won without Harbaugh. And obviously last week, the last time we will see the game with that magnitude and that stakes, they still won without Harbaugh, 30-24. And just stamp their mark as just saying, we're just a great team, and no matter what happens, it's player-led, and we're just better than you. So this team persevered through it all and has just won big game after big game after game, and just shut up the haters. And again, everything, all that freaking hurricane that came through, it ended after they beat Ohio State. And immediately, nothing else happened. They quieted all the excuses. Oh, you can't win without the cheating guy. You can't win with... Okay, it's done. They won all their games, and now they're going to move on. And it's been quiet this entire week. Stats-wise, obviously they beat Penn State and Ohio State with their 2 Tier 1 wins. Their only Tier 2 win was either UNLV, Rutgers, or Maryland. I forget which one that was. I mean, either way, they faced one of those three teams is really pretty decent. Not a great team, but good team. Top 10 in offense, number 2 ranked defense, right in front of Iowa. 5th record strength. Obviously, they have a weaker strength of schedule, but 54-8 as the favorite in games the last 5 years, while Iowa is 9-14 as the underdog. Ultimately, Michigan is a 21.5 point favorite. I think they not only win the game, but they cover that spread. Iowa just has. I think one of the bets in the over/under was Iowa's 0.5 points in first half and 0.5 points in the second half. So they really think that this game might be 24-0 Michigan. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like the 2021 team, especially with some of these injuries these teams had. I think if Michigan even gets up by 14, I mean that seems like an almost insurmountable deficit for Iowa's offense that can barely get past the 50-yard line without forcing a turnover. I think if they're up 21, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to call off the dogs, and if Michigan does win, I think this will be one of the most cringe / clickbait opportunities you'll ever see. Tony Petitti having to hand over the Big Ten championship trophy to Jim Harbaugh after what happened the last month and a half of the Big Ten. Either way, I think Michigan wins this and they cover and win their 3rd consecutive Big Ten championship in the last version of this Big Ten championship.